Привет всем. Как дела? Hi, everybody. How's it going? My name is Jonathan. Меня зовут Jonathan. И сегодня мы делаем уроки русского языка. So today we're going to do a Russian language lesson here, and we'll see if some people join or watch. And so I'm going to get started here. So let me see if I can share my screen, and see you guys can take a look here. Can you see my screen? Yeah, it looks like it's changing. Let me just switch the next one. Switch. Yeah, it looks like it switches. Okay. So let me go back here. So hi everybody. What's my name? I'm Jonathan. So who am I? I'm an American teacher from Southern California, and I have been learning foreign languages since 1995. I started with Spanish, then French, then German, a little bit of Italian. I started teaching myself a little bit of Russian back in 2000, and I even started using some really old chat programs like ICQ, and way back before there was any Google Translate or online dictionaries. So I had to translate everything kind of with a paper dictionary, and quite often I got these messages that said something like you're taking a very long time to respond. I got to go now. Bye. And by the time I had translated and understood that message, the person had already left 30 minutes before. So I wasn't a very fast translator or learner for Russian 16 years ago. And when I moved to Europe in 2002, I didn't really take much opportunity to continue learning Russian. But when I moved to Mexico City in 2008, I found a local language school in my neighborhood, and I decided to start taking some lessons in 2011. So I did that for 2 years, and but then I unfortunately had to stop when my children were getting a bit more hands-on, and I couldn't just go on Saturday mornings for a couple hours for taking the classes. So I took those 2 years of Russian classes, and then about a year ago, one of my contacts on VK told me about the Language Heroes program with Evgenia Kasheva. And so I joined in the autumn, the third edition of the Language Heroes there, and I actually won that. And I was very lucky to get involved with that program because there were a couple hundred Russian speakers on the platform learning foreign languages. And I reached out to a lot of those people and told them I could help them with their Spanish, their French, their English. And in return, a lot of those people really helped me with their Russian. And I'm very grateful to their support. And more recently, in March, I joined the Add One Challenge with Brian Kwong and in his community. And I decided to continue working on my Russian. And I decided to do daily videos to improve my Russian. So I was able to get a streak of about 100 YouTube videos, like speaking in Russian for about 15 minutes each day from about the beginning of April until about mid-July. And yesterday, there was the final of the Add One Challenge for the 15th group. And I was one of the finalists in there, but unfortunately I did not win. But still, it was a wonderful experience to continue improving my Russian. So here I am again, wanting to give back and helping other people who are learning Russian and wanting to get a good start. So we're going to take a look at some of the basics, and we're going to look at what is like this A1 level of the CEF, the Common European Framework Reference. So this is kind of introducing yourself in a simple way, asking and answering some questions about some personal details. You can communicate with somebody if they're able to kind of make the effort to speak a little slowly, clearly with you, and they want to help you. Your answers may be a little short or very systematic, but even if you have to pause or find your words, you can still communicate a little bit. So on familiar topics, where you live, where you're from, people you know, family, friends, or things you like to do, or your possessions. So, I mean, Russian is a challenging language, but it is able. You can communicate at a beginning level. It is possible. So what we're going to do here is get into a little bit of the some of these basic phrases. And I know a big first step of getting into Russian is learning to read the Cyrillic alphabet before you really start getting into the language. But even despite that, you can start communicating by like listening to audio and become familiar with the sound of the language. So we're going to take a look at a couple expressions here. So, привет, that's like hi. I know some language books might give you like здравствуйте, which is a very formal way to say hello. But in a casual conversation, you might say привет. And at the beginning of this video, I said привет всем, which is like hi, everybody. And a quick question to say how somebody's doing is как дела? A big comment I get from a lot of native speakers is that my L with this la sometimes comes out as like lia, and I really have to work on that because I know this is a hard L. It's not what's called a soft L. So if that was soft, I would probably have a sound like ya, but here I have ah. So even for my pronunciation after a couple years now, I still have to work on this la, like как дела. And it takes a lot of kind of concentration to work on that. But so I hope I won't give you some bad habits for Russian pronunciation, but this is more of an informative lesson. And then I really encourage you to find native speakers to talk to. And in the language exchange group that I admin, it's a wonderful place to meet a lot of native speakers, and definitely also on the VK platform with the Language Heroes community and Evgenia Kashieva's page for Petite Polyglot. There's a lot of people who interact over there, and they'd be really happy to help you with your Russian studies. Okay, next you'd probably say what my name is or what your name is, asking. So, меня зовут. Меня зовут. And I would ask, как тебя зовут? Как тебя зовут? And what we're doing here is this verb zovут. It's actually like people call me. Like, what do people call you? And it's like they call me Jonathan. What do they call you? What do they call you? Yeah. So that's what they're using, this is like they call. So меня зовут Jonathan. If I wanted to present a friend, like a male friend or a female friend, I would use это мой друг, or это моя подруга. Это моя подруга. One thing you'll notice in the Russian language is quite often the letter O is actually like a ah sound, like a kind of unaccented ah. It can be a little frustrating because you get like моя. You sometimes have to kind of figure out with the dictionary and make mistakes in conversations until you just finally figure out which ones are the letter O and which ones aren't. So here, like eta, it's not an O, it's not eto, it's eta, eta moi. And yeah, this one is actually an O. But all these examples get kind of devoiced to a k sound. So that like final consonants, if they're voiced, they usually become devoiced. So this is my friend, or this is my friend who's a girl. And I could ask what is his name, what is her name, or what do they call him, what do they call her? So как его зовут, как ее зовут. So here, the letter G, it's really not a G sound, a G sound, it's more like a V sound. So those are just little idiosyncrasies of the Russian spelling and pronunciation. You just kind of have to get used to them little by little. And this E with the two dots, the diaresis, it's like a yo sound. So yeyo. And so, okay, so его зовут, So his name is, and Yeyo Zavut, her name is. And if I were asking somebody in a conversation here, like, what's your name? And you, you have the ate. So it's kind of like it's like an and you, but and with a contrast. It's not quite like as strong as but it's an and that's like, there's some kind of a contrast going on here. So we use this ate, meaning like, I have my name, you have a name, but it's probably not the same one. So it's a contrast there. And as we meet somebody, we'd say очень приятно, очень приятно. So it's a pleasure to meet you. Like, I'm very pleased. And I would probably tell the person likewise, мне тоже, мне тоже. So this is like to me as well. So it's a pleasure, like to me, it's a pleasure for me. So in Russian, it's to me. In English, it's usually like for me, some of those things. But, so prepositions are often a little tricky between English and Russian. Once you meet somebody, you probably ask them like, where are they from? Откуда ты? Откуда ты? Here, there's no verb to be. So to be is absent in the present tense. So it's just where from? You. Where from? You. So откуда ты? And you just respond I, and then a preposition from, I from, and then there's a lot of places. So like я из Californie, я из США, like from the United States. And I'd ask somebody, where do you live? Где ты живешь? Где ты живешь? So this is the verb like to live. And I would say I live in, я живу в Мексике. Я живу в Мексике. Я живу в Mexico. So there's, in the case for me, there's a little difference between the country Mexico and the city Mexico City. And so no and o is actually the word but. It's not no. No would be niet. And is this kind of contrast for like it's kind of in between e and no, but this contrast. And e is a and when there's like two things that are like simultaneously, that are equally similar. So like I like this and that. So not so much a contrast, but there's two things I like. So one more time here. Привет, как дела? Меня зовут Jonathan. Как тебя зовут? Меня зовут Alexandra. Меня зовут Sasha. Меня зовут Irina. I'm just going through a lot of names of my current students that I have from Russia and from Moscow, from St. Petersburg, who are taking English lessons with me. Это мой друг, это моя подруга. Его зовут Дмитрий. Ее зовут Katrina. So, а ты, so like, what's your name and you? And меня зовут меня зовут Микаэл. Очень приятно, мне тоже. And откуда ты? Я из Москвы. А ты? Откуда ты? Я из Санкт-Петербурга. So somebody's from Moscow, somebody's from St. Petersburg. Где ты живешь? Я живу в Cheboksary. I have a friend in Cheboksary, so hi, Anna, if you're listening. So next we'll move on to kind of talking about conversation starters, ways to get people to start talking. So we'll use a verb, nравится, and this uses like a to me, мне нравится, and then we just add a couple of verbs. So что тебе нравится делать? So what do you like to do? Мне нравится читать, so to read, читать. Мне нравится путешествовать, so I like to travel, путешествовать. Мне нравится смотреть фильмы, I like to watch movies. So filmy, this is in the plural, this filmy. Мне нравится слушать музыку. I like to listen to music. Here, music is in the accusative case. Unfortunately, I do have to mention some of the grammar here because Russian does have 6 cases: the nominative, the accusative, the dative, the genitive, the instrumental, and the prepositional. So you will have to learn those little by little. I would recommend learning them kind of memorizing certain phrases that are already correct instead of kind of driving yourself crazy by learning them piece by piece. It's taken me a couple years to finally make a sentence with like a subject, a verb, and an object. I wish I had just kind of started memorizing correct sentences at the beginning and just learning them kind of by rote a little bit instead of trying to torture myself with some of the grammar. Мне нравится заниматься спортом, спортом. I have to double check the correction, the pronunciation there, because these O's, they might not be O's. One of them might be an A. So I have to double check with a native speaker. And this is the kind of, I like to practice sports. I like to exercise, good exercise. Мне нравится готовить. This is like to cook. And there's о, so готовить. Что тебе нравится читать? So what do you like to read? Once we establish that somebody likes to do something like I like to read, you can kind of follow up with that and say like, well, what do you like to read? So мне нравятся романы и рассказы. So what's going on here is I'm now conjugating this for like the third person plural. This is like novels and short stories please me. So it's not quite the same as like cooking pleases me, like the third person singular. This is third person plural because I'm dealing with 2 things that I like doing, not so much as just one verb action. So that I changed this a little bit, this ya as opposed to I. And so that's the conjugation there. So мне нравятся романы и рассказы. I might ask somebody, well, you like to travel? Okay, where do you like to travel? Где тебе нравится путешествовать? Где тебе нравится путешествовать? Мне нравится путешествовать в России. And this is St. Basil's Cathedral in the Red Square. So that's in Moscow. Какие фильмы тебе нравятся? So again, we have this yeah. So because I'm talking about multiple films, here it's in the plural. So which films do you like? Мне нравятся фильмы приключения. So I like adventure movies. Каким видом спорта ты занимаешься? So what sports? What kind of sports do you practice? Мне нравится играть в tennis. So this is to play tennis, and the sport you use this preposition v. It's kind of like in French, you might change between playing a musical instrument or playing a sport. Какая музыка тебе больше всего нравится? So this больше всего is this like most. So what music do you like most? Я люблю джаз и рок. So я люблю джаз и рок. Люблю is to love. So you have kind of to like and нравится. And we're going between тебе and мне. In these, if you want to know the case, this is dative. It's like a to me. To me, it's pleasing. And this kind of is comparative to the Spanish grammar of like me gusta or me gustan. If you've looked at those structures of like the previous videos that I talked about. And this lublю, that's a bit more of the I love, and this is I'm doing the action. I love jazz and rock. Okay, so that's basically just to wrap up here. And I would recommend couple of these links to look at for vocabulary between English and Russian, wordreference.com. Also, Wiktionary.org is a really good website, especially for Russian, because you can put a verb on there and it will conjugate it in all the tenses. And if you put a noun or an adjective, it will give you all the declensions. So singular, plural, and then masculine, feminine. If it's an adjective, masculine, feminine, neuter, because Russian has three three nouns, genders, sorry, and the nouns, they will have their declensions for singular, plural, and all the 6 cases. So the Wiktionary is an excellent place to go to find those, so you don't have to kind of dig around tons of books. And definitely take advantage of the Italki website to do the community notebook entries and to get corrections from native speakers and teachers and language exchange partners. And I would also recommend using a speakpipe.com voice recorder. And it's a really easy to use free web tool to record your voice. And you can get a link to your audio file, and you can share that with a language exchange partner or share it with a teacher and get feedback on your speaking. So between Italki and SpeakPipe, you can get feedback on your writing and on your speaking. And then you can use these reference tools to find some vocabulary and then find their conjugations and declensions. And I also have made some programs that are really useful for going through the Russian nouns and the declensions. I'm going to switch over from the presentation. I'm going to switch over to, let's say, the website here. Let me get this up for you. And this is so you can see this live. I'm going to show you how to use this this program that I made about 3 years ago when I was really getting into my Russian studies and wanted to work on this. So I think you can see this. Yeah, I think you can see it. So so on here, this is using the these nouns and adjectives. So I'll just put like a random check here. I'll just leave everything random, but you can choose between the nominative, the genitive, the dative, the accusative, the instrumental, the prepositional. You can choose between the different genders, the masculine, feminine, neuter. Once you can choose between singular or plural. You can choose between if you're using animate or inanimate nouns. You can get once you get into those specifics of the gender, you can get into a specific noun. So if I say, let's say, masculine, I can get into, let's say, if I want inanimate nouns, then I can work with things like question, city, day, document, newspaper, pencil, computer, concert, store, month, museum, park, train, restaurant, market, chair, etc. And then I could maybe switch over to, let's say, animate people, and I could get brother, grandfather, friend, boy, man, father, writer, president, student, son, teacher, person. And I could work with these and just go through all the conjugations as I want. Or, and with those, I could maybe work on a specific adjective. So maybe I want to say, okay, brought, brother. So what are some of these adjectives that I could use here? So let's maybe, so I'm going to use like, okay, singular, I'm going to use my younger brother or my brother, our brother, a bad brother, an older brother, a happy brother, your brother, that brother, happy, good brother, that brother. So I can go through all these adjectives on there, and maybe like the reason why some of them might be different between singular plural, because like one of them, for example, if I go to, let's say, for female or something, let's say I put wife, like женщина, or жена, I think it should be on there, but I guess I don't have it on there. But if I used it on a different one, like in the singular, I could say, okay, my wife, but in the plural, saying my wives is a little strange. So that's why I made some of these differences for those adjectives. But you could choose whether you want to work with adjectives or not, or you could just leave everything random and it's going to test you. I would recommend, if you're going to be getting started, like as a beginner, basic, working with the nominative. Let's say just use something with the masculine. Just let's say work with, let's say, something inanimate, and probably not using the, well, it's probably not going to make too much sense if you're not using the adjectives, because it's just going to be like the dictionary term. So if it says, how do you say brother, and well, it's going to be testing you. So So how do I say universities in the plural? I guess you might want to also do this in the singular. So I could just put that back here. And how do I say movie in the nominative singular? So if you remember on that slide I just showed you before, I was talking about like what movies do you like? So this is film. And if I forgot that, I have a dictionary on here. So I created this as well. So there's film. It should be here, or movie. And where is it? It's here, movie, it's film. So, F-I-L, and then the Miyaki Snack, M. So I'll put that here, F-I-L-M. And I'm going to check this. And yeah, it's film. And then once I do that, I get some feedback here. I get this, like, there's a lot of stats that I created on here, so that as I'm going through here, you get feedback on like, okay, I've got 100% correct on nouns. So I'm going to put the adjectives back on here, and I'm going to do another one here. So a boring store. So boring is a skuchny, and a store is magazine. So it's skuchny, skuchny magasin. So that sounds a bit like the French word for store, magasin. Or magazine. And I'll try that. Yeah, boring store, skuchny magazine. And I'll get feedback on here of skuchny. So that's the adjective. It's correct. It's in the nominative singular. It's masculine. So it's in this box. And in magazine, I'm testing myself again on these masculine singular. So I got 2 for 2. And down here, I've got basically 100%. And if I left everything just random, everything here, it would test me on everything here. So it would go through masculine, feminine, neuter, singular and plural, and in all of these cases, whether it's accusative with inanimate or accusative with animate, which is basically the genitive. So there's a lot of more grammar than you need to know right now, but this thing will test you over and over again, and it will keep giving you the results and the statistics, so you can see where are your weak areas. So these would be like incorrect things. You need to review those, and these are the correct ones, and these would be the correct ones, these would be the incorrect ones. So you see little by little this table is filling up with the vocabulary that you know and that you need to review. So this thing is pretty awesome, if I don't mind saying that myself. And down here, I have a Russian sentence generator. So this is basically just conjugations. But so it's going, so like ty, so that's you, and this is a woman, and species, so that's like, if I need a translation, that's like to hurry, or rush, hasten, or maybe I translate it into Spanish, so it's like tener prisa, s'empresser, or in German, sich beeilen. So that's just to help you kind of get an idea of what you are looking at. I could go into a specific verb. So let's say I want to look at something like to speak or to do. So I'm going to look at, let's say, or to think. I'll take a look at to think, or I'll go here, get to speak. Говорить. So on говорит. So that's the sprechen. So I'll put here capital lowercase on говорит, and then make sure I add the period because it's kind of a sentence. And I'll check this, and yeah. Oh no, there's a problem. I don't know why. Oh, it's a question. Вопросительный. So I made a mistake there. I should have paid more attention to the detail there. So try again. Try again. Why is it? Oh, it's past tense. Whoops. So it's, again, I'm not paying attention. So this should be on говорил, like as a question. And yeah, finally. So I got 1 for 3. So I need to pay attention to these details. If it's a question, or if it's negative, or if it's affirmative. And so I can definitely specify if I want to use just the present tense. And this is reminding me that I'm dealing with a imperfective verb. Russian has perfective, imperfective verbs, and it's kind of it's a certain aspect of the language that you need to learn, these aspects, whether it means like you're doing something in general, or you're going to do it and finish it, like get a result of a process. So that's one thing to take into consideration with Russian verbs. But this list has about, I forget how many I put on here, but at least over 100 of the most common verbs that I encountered in the first year books. So a lot of things like to speak, to think, to eat. And then once these arrows, these are working with movement verbs, since movement verbs are kind of a tricky thing to work on with the Russian verbs. So that's getting into like a little bit of an intermediate point. So just to give you a big picture of how you can use these tools and how they can help you with your practice. And I'll keep working on this, and I could work on this for like 5 minutes each day, and it would be helping you working on your conjugations. And then with the other one, with the noun declensions, that would be helping you too. So I'll put this here, this Russian sentence generator. You can see that. I'll put that in the link as well. And also put on here the, where is it? The previous one. For the noun and adjective declensions. Okay, so I'll put those notes, I'll put those in the show notes on here for this lesson. And so, yeah, so thank you very much for watching this brief beginning Russian lesson. And I'll put the notes for those links that I mentioned. I'll put that in the YouTube link. And definitely check out the language exchange group that I have on Facebook, and also check out Language Heroes on VK. And also check out the Add One Challenge. There's a lot of people learning different languages in there, and there's people learning Russian as well. And so definitely check out those communities. You'll definitely get a lot of help with your Russian studies. And feel free to ask me questions, because I've been doing this a while, and I know it's a challenging language, and I'll be happy to help you. So take care. Thanks for watching, and look forward to the next lesson.